YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Fultzs here back with another video on the channel. I already started 2 minutes and 12 seconds of this video, so we're going to hop right into that. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you want me to do with this channel, because like it's been strictly reacts, but it's been all over the place. Obviously, I stream every day on my Twitch channel. It's Fultzs on Twitch. I do a lot of, like, I'm starting to do day trading. If you guys want to see me like going from like a zero to hero day trader, then let me know down in the comments. But I have no idea what I want to do with this channel. Let me know what you guys want to see. If you want to see Clash Royale, gay porn, like whatever you want to see, let me know down in the comments. Without further ado, the world right after the dinosaurs died, it said that they got hit by a missile or like a big flying thing, asteroid, and now fungus is growing.
Fungus usually thrives in the wake of mass death and have the added benefit of not requiring sunlight.
I'm gonna yawn a lot. It's in the morning.
Through a thin line
I still gotta go to work today.
However, this
subscribe so I'd never have to work
again. The best representation in the world,
and then I just turn that on. Whatever.
Since, as I mentioned, they probably live on for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna yawn.
Long, with the world recovering.
You know what the funny thing is? I literally was recording the thing the whole time with the sound.
Surprisingly fast, with life even returning to the crater site within just a few years. Therefore, in order to see what Earth was truly like following the dinosaurs' reign, it's best to skip through this brief, yet no doubt hellish phase, and instead revisit the world once things settled down, and was once again a bit lively,
yeah, we can do that.
A bit less dinosaur-y. At this point, the Danians still wouldn't have looked too different from the final days of the Cretaceous, at least from space, seeing that most of Earth's land masses were pretty much where they had been beforehand.
So this is Pangea? This is Pangea? I kind of fuck with Pangea, dude. I kind of fuck with it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fuck with it. It's kind of cool.
Despite a few differences, any map would strongly resemble the world as we see it today. In addition to geography, the climate hadn't changed much from the Cretaceous period either, with the temperature being warmer than present on average, while most areas were more humid as well, resulting in...
Wait, what? It was 40 degrees?
Period either, with the temperature being warmer than present
God damn, 30,
on average,
40, 35?
while most areas were more humid as well, resulting in many environments supporting subtropical ecosystems.
Yeah, no shit.
But beyond these similarities, the Earth could not have been farther from what it had been, and the first large change you'd probably observe was the landscape itself. To be exact, the trees that now stood. During the final days of the Cretaceous, conifers, ferns, monocots, redwoods, ginkgos, and angiosperms were among the most dominant tree types. In large expansive forests,
how do we know that?
Canopies covered much of the
that
land, providing ample
millions
coverage
of years
to
ago.
life, and supplying an abundance of vegetation for the giant herbivorous dinosaurs. Yet in this new day and age, forests were a bit less rich than before, and much less diverse, with many of the previously dominant groups having been almost completely wiped out, especially ferns and monocots. And there was pretty much only one group that even benefited from the asteroid, and that was conifers, as the genus Classopolys in particular became strikingly abundant, while Buprea was fairly prevalent as well. And
I don't care about trees. I'm here to
are ultimately what made up
fucking see
much
T-Rex.
of vegetation, leading to extremely homogeneous forests, no matter where you traveled. Now, this would change a bit as the Danian developed, with flowering plants slowly overtaking all else, a trend we see reflected today. But the lack of diversity would remain a theme in forests for a far longer time. And when exploring these new forests, you'd probably soon come to another observation beyond diversity. One that was much more ominous, and that's how quiet it was. Not so long ago, these areas would have been full of the roars and bellows.
Yes, because we know how quiet the forests were 66 million years ago. What a great video.
Of giant dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and so on. Yet now, nothing. Or at least
okay, saying
almost
there's nothing there.
For life was still present, just on a much smaller scale, literally, as the Danian stage was home to animals much smaller than before. And even the mammals, who were now in charge, weren't even close to reaching modern sizes, meaning you could pretty much walk around without having to worry about getting snatched up, which is quite a shift from the Cretaceous. But, that being said, not all of the legacy of the Cretaceous have been erased just quite yet, as the Danian formation tells us that specific animals from the dinosaurs' age had survived into this new planet, representing the last pieces of a lost world. Some of these survivors
like
even
the
became one of
alligator?
the largest creatures of the time, and were funnily enough, not usually mammals, but ironically, reptiles once again.
So like, where are you living? Like, if you had to go back to like even this era where like not that much is gonna kill you but a lot's still gonna kill you, where would you live? I think it's got to be on the prairies, right? So you can see shit. Like if you live in a rainforest, you're fucking dead. Like you're dead. Not to mention, like, you don't even know, you have no idea. Say if there's like a little mammal or something, it could come bite you and be poisonous. Like you have no idea.
Namely, it was the crocodilomorphs who were living it up, having fared quite well during the collision, largely thanks to their physical design, as well as lower energy requirements and chosen environments, which typically were sheltered. And as a result, they could be found worldwide, and in many cases, were likely apex predators, being represented by the genera such as the Botosaurus, Hyposaurus, Thoracosaurus, Champsosaurus, and Borealisuchus, the latter of which are two crocodilians who literally lived alongside the legends, having both been residents of Hell Creek. These crocodilians together would have held very diverse diets, and they were a bit sizey, sometimes measuring over 3 meters or 10 feet long, which was rather big back then. and Borealis could be even bigger,
Yeah.
growing to lengths of 4.5 meters or 15 feet.
I'd be so dead, bro.
Now, most of these
I'd be so
crocodilians
dead.
ended up in
I'd be
urban,
going for a
shallow,
drink and get
semi-aquatic
fucking
ecosystems.
snatched.
But a few others ended up choosing land instead, like their coexisting cousins, the Sebecidae, a fully
Yeah.
terrestrial group that
Fuck
had also
that.
endured through the asteroid, and were now represented by the Zolmasuchus, a Bolivian genus
A fucking long-legged fucking no.
who was a
No.
bit small, but still likely had a rather nasty bite. And with the dinosaurs no longer bullying his kind, his descendants, especially the Barinasuchus, would actually become just about the largest terrestrial carnivores since the T-Rex. Talk about a glow-up.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With
That guy's
links,
gay.
You can.
And along with the Crocies, another group of reptiles that found themselves doing well, to the misfortune of some of us today, were snakes. And they survived for very similar reasons to their distant relatives.
That is too bad
And
that
honestly,
they didn't all
they
get
should
taken the
even
fuck
thank
out. I
asteroid,
hate snakes.
Because while a few groups were wiped out, the lack of competitors going forth.
I went to some like sketchy ass animal park one time. It was literally so you drive in this yard, right? It's like an acreage. Like we're in the middle of like a fucking random place in Manitoba, Canada. And fucking like we drive into this yard and it's like, where the fuck are all these animals? You walk into like this little barn shop thing, and there's like the first thing you see is a Titan boa or whatever the fuck, like a snake this thick as my head. I was like, what the fuck? I'm
led to
gonna
a
die
massive
here.
burst
I
in
thought I was
social
gonna
diversity,
die.
and leading to a new status quo that has lasted, with the main change being that boas became quite
This
common
guy.
and were relatively big compared to other Danian life, and could even, like crocs, sometimes measure over 3 meters or 10 feet long.
No.
Another shift you would have
No,
noticed,
I'm
which
good.
again occurred in the reptile department,
I'm
was
good.
that both
I hope you heard
iguanas
that fart
and monster
too.
lizards had become predominant animals.
These
in
are the
various
scariest
ecosystems,
things in the world.
with the latter
Komodo
even joining the
dragons.
ranks of top
Those are
predators,
these are the
likely
scariest
rivaling
things.
the size seen today in modern
Dude,
life.
I'll go to the zoo and you see a tiger. You're like, damn, that thing's cool. I see these things and I get uneasy. Like I just get like uneasy. I don't like these things. They're scary.
And the reptiles seem to keep on winning, because there was actually one more group that had all 3 of the other groups beat when it came to thriving, and were even a short-time ruler of the Earth after dinosaurs, and that was turtles. Now, they're not the most intimidating creatures out there, but turtles are hella tough, and I'm not just talking about their shells.
Did you just
but them
say
having
hella
both an
tough?
adaptable diet and a slow metabolism.
You're hella gay,
In
bro.
fact, when it came to surviving the space rock, they did just about the best of any group period. Better than even mammals, with researchers estimating that 80% of Cretaceous turtles made it into the Cenozoic. And just to put that into perspective, can you guess how many mammals made it? A measly 7%.
6,
Thus,
7.
for a long time, turtles were killing it, being abundant, diverse, and everywhere. The only drawback to this was because turtles are typically the gentle type, well, at least of some animals, their high prevalence also resulted in them becoming a huge prey source, with fossils showing that crocodilians especially love to prey on our shelled friends. So, it seems like Earth immediately after dinosaurs was more reptilian than you would expect from the so-called beginning of the Age of Mammals. Yet don't get it twisted, because there was much more mammals than before, and they were far bigger, for the very first time reaching sizes larger than a sheep. But for the most part, they remained fun-sized, and were even a bit adorable, with some new faces, including the Polydopomorphia, an extinct order of Metatherians closely related to extant marsupials, who had actually been one of the most successful group of mammals
an ugly
in the
fuck.
Cretaceous, with a particularly prominent family during this time being the Hyopsodontidae. They fell under the Panparasitdactyla clade, making them more related to zebras than to rodents, despite their appearance, and generally ranged in size from a small rat to a raccoon, and were likely generalistic eaters that would nip on just about anything that was small enough. But unfortunately, they too are now extinct. Besides them, marsupials were now on the prowl as well, in numbers far larger than before,
Ugh.
with the Microbiotharia family especially having been prevalent in the Danian. Yet, as cute as these guys were, they aren't exactly all that interesting, and frankly, none of them really were. But I will say, mammals as a whole were testing the boundaries, expanding and experimenting. And in these early days, you could have actually caught a glimpse of possibly the first mammals to ever be apex predators, and who were also the largest mammals
Ew.
up until this point, the Mesonychians. They were a primarily carnivorous or omnivorous group of animals, that in whichever case, ate
So like I understand we're watching this video and we're having lots of fun, but this just seems like the dumb. I don't know. Like so there was just dumb stupid animals
a lot of
after
meat
like
reflected by isotopic analysis.
ah.
They appeared on Earth almost right after the end of the Cretaceous, becoming the first fully terrestrial mammal group to really take advantage of the disappearance of large theropods. And while they're often reconstructed as having superficially looked a lot like wolves, if you ever saw them in life, you'd probably make no connection between the two, as most paleontologists assert that they didn't resemble any living creature, generally being described as sporting large heads with powerful jaw muscles, having relatively long necks, and large robust bodies with stocky limbs. That did allow them to run, but not very gracefully. And if they were chasing you, you would have noticed that they bounded more like a rhino than a lion. And this kind of makes sense, seeing that they were actually more related to rhinos as well, being ungulates after all. Not
just
carnivorous.
a
And
fucked
during their
up
existence,
thing.
Mesonychians greatly ranged in size, and one of the most successful of the bunch would have been the Dissicus, a coyote-sized member.
You know what actually is one of the coolest things that I've heard in the past like little bit is the direwolves being brought back and then them like not knowing that they were white. and they're just like white, like they're pure white, and they're like, yeah, I'm probably brown, whatever. But like honestly, pretty gay animal to bring back. Like it's just a wolf, like it's literally just a white wolf. Bring back like a
Seem to play the role of a
triceratops,
fox or small
and a
canid, just on a
stegosaurus,
bigger scale, being actually amongst the larger animals.
or maybe like a mega knight or a bowling. I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Oh dear.
Oh my god, these ads are gonna make me fucking
got bad
jump off a
service
bridge in game, of course.
And its homeland, which consisted of North America, Europe, and Asia. And while it was a bit clunky in the running department, it did actually possess additional adaptations for locomotion. So much, in fact, that some paleontologists think it might have held monopoly in running over all other animals. Which was a bit unfair when you realize that it was also the largest animal around in its ecosystems, which was only made worse by the fact that Mesonychia would soon get even bigger. Best demonstrated by the Ancalagon, another Damian creature that reached sizes akin
Why
to
did I just watch? Why did I just watch a bear shit? Why did I just do that? I don't want to watch a bear shit.
In my
That's
humble
nasty.
opinion, they were a bit more scary than bears, and for a reason which you think would make them safer, and that's blunt teeth. Now obviously blunt knives typically are safer than sharp ones, but Ancalagon reversed this, as at the end of the day, it still had to eat, and it ate meat, and thus it evolved an extremely strong bite.
So it just
Basically
fucking
erasing the need
hurt.
for sharp teeth, as it would kill animals by biting so ridiculously hard and then just ripping the meat straight off of it.
God.
So not a good way to go. And ultimately, the Mesonychids would develop many ways to kill in the early days of their dominance, with some showing teeth similar to what's seen in bone-crushing hyenas, while others had those more similar to what's seen in pigs. It was all about the variety. Now these were the biggest mammalian carnivores, but they were also joined by the smaller, but equally interesting, Hyenodonta, which are not to be confused with real hyenas. This was a family of hypercarnivorous placental mammals belonging to the Ferae mirror order, which basically means they're related to modern-day carnivorans and pangolins, as opposed
Ew.
to ungulates like the Mesonychians. And these guys might have actually appeared during the late Cretaceous, when the dinosaurs were still around, but they only really started to diversify in the Danian. And similar to Mesonychids, they too had relatively large skulls, yet differed in that they sported slender jaws and slim bodies. And as mentioned, they were smaller too, with Danian hyenodonts typically being no larger than a medium-sized dog. However, while size was not on their side, they did have the advantage of superior smell.
I would
allowing
fuck
them to
that
become
shit
excellent
up.
trackers,
I would fuck
and their
that
teeth were much
motherfucker up.
sharper, designed for shearing over crushing.
I'd put it in
And
a
ultimately, their
reverse
design would come to
fucking
haunt the
chokehold.
Mesonychids. For while they ruled the Danian, the hyenodonts would eventually take over, becoming the most important terrestrial predators during the Oligocene, and reaching sizes greater than a polar bear. But for now, they stayed small. And if you were a carnivore, being small was apparently a strict memo back then, as other carnivorous groups you might have seen included the Viverrividae, Myosidae, and Semilesta, who were also in some cases omnivores and herbivores too. So between these hunters and the smaller herbivores that stalked the lands, you basically have your answer on what replaced the non-avian dinosaurs. But what about the pterosaurs? I mean, after all, they did dominate Earth for millions of years too, holding absolute domain over the skies. Which begs the question, who replaced them? Well, in the beginning, not too much, with insects frankly being the ones in charge. But even they hadn't fully recovered at this point, which is great news for any of our time travelers who hate creepy crawlies. But even better news for them would be that out of the groups which remained, one of the most prevalent were butterflies. A pleasant change for once. But of course, besides insects, you also had the remnants of dinosaurs flying around too.
I don't care, bro.
However, like insects, they were hurting. And contrary to popular opinion, only a small handful of them made it past the Cretaceous.
Dude,
And though
this
today
is
they are
dust.
without a doubt
I
the
thought
rulers
this was
of the
gonna be
sky,
like
they have not
interesting and
reached this
shit, but
point
it's
during
really
the Danian,
not.
with their full recovery taking an additional 15 million years. But you know what doesn't take millions of years? Tapping that like and subscribe button. It
I'm
goes a long
not.
way in helping out. But overall, in the end, the lands of Earth weren't the most exciting after the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
But it was
oh,
made up
oh.
for a bit by what was unfolding
Okay.
underwater. Just like the land with its non-avian dinosaurs, the oceans and seas.
Okay, so he understands that this is like non-interesting. Like, I mean, it is interesting, obviously, but like he understands that, like, you know, this is kind of dust. Like, you know, we were not nearly doing anything.
Their undisputed rulers as well, namely large marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. However,
Mosasaurs.
in their absence, a new group arose,
Mimosasaurs.
and once again, I may add, who also survived remarkably untouched, and aren't exactly more comforting than having marine reptiles swimming about. And of course, I'm talking about sharks. Lots of them, in fact.
A
Of the
megalodon.
28 shark families known during the final days of the Mesozoic, just 3 went extinct, leaving 25 groups still swimming in the Danian. And they weren't exactly small or timid either, as among the numerous genera, you would find the largest predator alive on Earth during this time, who was also a great reason to never swim. The Otodus.
Yeah, no shit, eh?
Ear-shaped tooth. This was a genus of mackerel shark, just like great whites, that is believed to have descended directly from the shark Cradolamna. And with the absence of giant mosasaurs, Otodus was able to quickly swell in size. And less than 1 million years after the Cretaceous, there was not one, but 2 species of Otodus meandering around, that already matched the size of large great whites, allowing them to basically eat anything
they're big
inside,
fucks.
which was typically sea turtles and fish.
Aw.
And then, on top of these big
Sea
guys,
turtles.
there's also the chance that a third species was
I
on the
like
scene
turtles,
too,
though.
the Obliquus,
What
which
about
if
the
the case,
megalodon?
was a very, very bad omen. For this species was even bigger, sometimes hitting 9 meters or 30 feet long. And while
Damn.
the Otodus species were unchallenged when it came to size, they definitely weren't the only sharks taking full advantage of this emptier world. being joined by some genera that
Ew.
have even made it to
God,
today,
you're an ugly
like
fuck.
Aramna and Nebrius. And besides sharks, there was also many other groups that were popping off, including sea turtles like I mentioned, eels, with them heavily diversifying at this time, and then while not
Jesus.
marine per se, it was also now that Earth saw the rise of the Anguillidae, a family of ray-finned fish which contain freshwater eels, not to be confused with their marine counterparts.
Do those things
But
kill
for
you?
those unagi lovers out there, best
Like, is that what killed Bear Grylls? No, the Australian dude.
be thankful
It's
for
an
that
eel,
space rock.
electric eel.
Along with this bunch, we also got the first cutlass fishes back then, a group that, like freshwater eels, are still living and are predatory fish.
Imagine bringing your side project to life.
Dude,
Just
fucking
by thinking about
the
it.
ocean scares me
Meet
so
base
much. I don't know
44.
if the
Yet are a
rainforest
bit
scares me
demure
more
looking,
or the
possessing relatively
ocean.
large
Love the
frontal
ocean,
teeth,
for
which allow
sure.
them to pierce and hold prey tightly. And in the end, they weren't the only strange fish to have popped up in the early Cenozoic, as one of the strangest actually happened to appear right around the impact crater not long after its formation. And calling it weird is putting it lightly. Perhaps it got mixed up with some of that good old meteorite dust. This was the Ecolostomus. It's a completely extinct genus who belonged to its very own family, of which it is the only known member.
What
It
the
can be
fuck?
simply summed up as an alien-like trumpet fish, as besides the trumpet part, it was also completely armored, kind of
Ugh.
like a placoderm.
What the
However,
fuck?
its armor was even weirder than what's typically seen in placoderms, being very rough, unsymmetrical, and protruding, making it kind of look like a cross between a coral and a fish, or at least a fish with a serious barnacle overgrowth. And though we don't know much about this creature beyond its strange appearance, we do know it was important, in that its existence itself showed to us that marine life near the asteroid's crater recovered rapidly, and seemingly harbored predators too, given the presence of its armor. And overall, strange definitely seemed to be the trend for Danian fish, as I present you yet another oddity.
What the fuck?
Adachodon. Now this genus was actually a remnant of the age of dinosaurs, having evolved during the early Cretaceous. Yet even after the asteroid, it remained a fairly common sight. Everything we know about it points to it having been a type of chimera. And no, I'm not talking about the mythical creature, but rather the equally weird-looking fish that are cousins to sharks and rays, that still do swim in the oceans today.
Dude, there's gotta be some fucking weird shit back then. Like, if I could go back and just, like, see some of the weird shit that these things look like, man, oh my god. Like, even, like, oh, bleh, it's
But unlike its
disgusting.
living
It's
relatives, this guy
disgusting.
was an absolute unit.
Disgusting.
Sometimes measuring more than 3.43 meters, or 11.3 feet long, which also makes them larger than the biggest Goliath groupers out there.
Oh, the
Now,
Goliath
the late
groupers are
Cretaceous had been their
fucked.
peak, but even during the Danian, they were still widespread, living in both the northern and southern hemispheres, where it is thought that for a brief time they would have been among the Earth's top predators. But what
Ugh.
they ate exactly is still a mystery, as
Dick.
unlike sharks, they did not have many sharp continuously replaced teeth, but rather large permanent tooth plates that, at least in some species, seem to be specialized for a mix of jobs, including crushing, cutting,
Sucking, and
tearing,
fucking.
leading to the idea that large adaphidons probably ate whatever they wanted, including hard-shelled animals, fish, sharks, and any marine reptile stragglers left behind. However, like Ecolostomus, they would not make it to the present, and would eventually be replaced by sharks and other predatory fish. But they did last for far longer, making it all the way to the Pliocene, and they also would not be the last to disappear, as actually, an animal typically associated with the age of dinosaurs is believed to have briefly survived following their demise, and that's the ammonites, an extinct subclass of coral-shelled cephalopods that
No,
existed
I'm
for
good,
hundreds
bro.
of millions of
Nah,
years,
I'm good.
and would have been a common sight in nearly all prehistoric oceans
Bro,
and
I'm
seas.
good,
And for a long
dude.
time, paleontologists believed that all of them, without exception, had perished on that fateful day. But then in Denmark and New Jersey respectively, paleontologists found the remains of a species dated to after the impact, suggesting that a handful remained for nearly 500,000 years.
Shut
And these
the
are
fuck up. If I go into the ocean for a drink of water and I
the
see
impact, suggesting
this
that
motherfucker, I will find the closest gun ever and shoot myself in the head. Fuck
a
that.
handful remained for nearly 500,000 years.
Oh my
and these
God.
genera included the eubacolites, discoscaphites, hoploscaphites, and baculites.
Fuck.
And while none were as giant as the older Parapazosia, they were still
What
extremely
the
interesting
fuck?
and unlike anything we have today. And along with the rest of the animals that have made it to the
Oh my
boundary,
God.
were the
I mean, that was honestly like a very, very underwhelming, but like still pretty cool. Like I am like, what the fuck? This shit's crazy. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments and let me know what you want to see because I don't even know what I want to see. See you guys next one. Peace.